Welcome the anointed ones. Some victories don't announce themselves at the finish line. Some arrive with a bang at 3 a.m. when the universe finally says, enough. Chosen ones, breathe for a second, because what's unfolding in your life right now isn't coincidence, luck, or divine charity. It's the official confirmation that the scales have tipped, the records have been pulled, and the universe has stopped playing polite games on your behalf. When a court, physical or spiritual, rules in your favor, it's rarely just about compensation. It's about revelation. It's about exposing the hands that were quietly moving against you while pretending to be neutral observers. And here's a fact that will make this moment hit even harder. Psychology confirms that people are more afraid of being exposed than being punished. And that's exactly what's happening now. Your abundance being released is only half the story. The other half is that someone, somewhere, is sweating harder than a pastor caught checking Instagram during a sermon because the truth they buried is clawing its way back up. This moment is not just a payout, it's a plot twist. It's the kind of divine audit that shows up unannounced, flips the spiritual ledger open, circles some numbers with a red pen, and says, yeah, we're going to need to fix all of this immediately. And the suspense? Oh, it's thick. Because while you were minding your business, healing, praying, and occasionally arguing with your own reflection about whether you should cut your hair or not, something bigger was happening behind the scenes. Evidence was stacking. Motives were being decoded. Lies were collapsing like cheap umbrellas in a Lagos rainy season. Now, here we are. The ruling has been made. Your money is finally in motion, and somebody is about to find out that spiritual accounting has no mercy for people who tried to play God with a chosen one's destiny. Get ready, because once this intro ends, we're diving into 14 points that will not only make everything make sense, they'll make you laugh, gasp, and rethink every struggle you survived on the way to this moment. Number 1. The judgment didn't free you. It exposed who was secretly benefiting from your suffering. People assume justice is about clearing your name or releasing your blessing, but this situation goes far deeper than that. The truth is, your breakthrough didn't just arrive. It revealed a long chain of people who were quietly gaining from your delays, your setbacks, and your confusion. Your struggle wasn't random. It was a feeding ground for individuals who were comfortable as long as you stayed stuck. The ruling didn't simply open a door for you, it turned on a floodlight, and suddenly everything that was happening in the shadows became impossible to hide. There were people who acted supportive, people who played neutral, and people who pretended to have no involvement at all, yet their lives benefited every time yours slowed down. It's uncomfortable to admit, but some individuals in your orbit grew used to seeing you fight silently. They built their confidence on your exhaustion. They found validation in your instability. They felt powerful knowing you were struggling to take a step forward. The moment the decision went in your favor, the entire structure they built on your hardship started trembling. That's the real reason this ruling hit harder than they expected. It didn't just shift your destiny, it disrupted their comfort. Your suffering was never just an unfortunate season. It had become a supply chain for people who disguised their advantage as coincidence. They never wanted you to notice how they benefited. They never planned for the day your favor would return with receipts. Now everything they built is under scrutiny. Their excuses, their stories, their justifications, none of it holds up anymore, because the judgment didn't just free you. It showed who was quietly plugging themselves into your losses like a hidden power source. And the moment the ruling came down, that secret power line was ripped out. What's happening now is not just restoration, it's exposure. It's the unveiling of people who were never afraid of your strength. They were afraid of you recovering it. They weren't intimidated by your potential. They were terrified of what would happen once you realized someone else had been feeding off it. This victory isn't just about you rising, it's about the collapse of everything and everyone that prospered while you were hurting. The ruling didn't simply return what was yours. It revealed what was never theirs to take in the first place. Number 2, your silence was never weakness, it was evidence. People love to misread silence. They assume you're intimidated, confused, unsure, or overwhelmed. They think you're too soft to speak up, or too scared to fight back. But what they never realized is that your silence was the very thing building the case that is now working in your favor. Every moment you didn't argue, every insult you didn't return, every trap you refused to respond to was quietly documenting their intentions. You weren't losing your voice, you were letting their actions speak for themselves. Those who tried to paint you as the problem were counting on you to explode, retaliate, or fall apart. They wanted reactions they could use against you. They wanted chaos that made them look calm. They wanted to provoke you into proving the story they wrote about you. But you didn't give them that performance. You gave them stillness, and that stillness became their downfall. Silence is a strange thing. It's easy to underestimate it, and even easier to misinterpret it. But silence has one job: to let the truth stretch its legs and walk right into the open. Your quietness didn't protect them, it exposed them. The more they pushed to get a reaction, the more desperate their behavior became. While you kept your peace, they revealed their patterns. They showed who they were without your involvement. They built the case against themselves. The court ruling didn't just confirm your innocence, it confirmed your discipline. It proved that you chose integrity even when you had every reason to defend yourself. And that restraint spoke louder than any argument you could have made. What others called weakness was actually strategy. What they mocked as passiveness was actually patience. And patience always exposes what people try to hide. Now the truth is out, and the silence they ridiculed is the very thing that made everything clear. Your silence held receipts. Your silence showed consistency. Your silence forced the world to look at them without the distraction of drama. While they tried to convince everyone that you were unstable or dramatic, your stillness refused to support their story. This ruling is proof that quiet strength is still strength. It's the kind of strength that doesn't break character, doesn't lose control, and doesn't lower itself to match someone else's chaos. Your silence didn't protect your enemies, it recorded them. And now, that record has turned into your justice. Number 3, your payout is not a blessing. It's a correction to a spiritual imbalance they created. What's coming to you now is not some random stroke of good fortune or a feel-good moment of divine generosity. It's a response to an imbalance that others deliberately or carelessly caused in your life. There are times when life steps in not because you prayed harder, but because the weight of what was done to you became too heavy to ignore. When people disrupt what was meant for you, the universe eventually adjusts itself, and that adjustment can feel like a sudden blessing. But in reality, it's a correction. There were individuals who interfered with your path, slowed your growth, twisted your opportunities, and tried to take credit for your potential. They pulled at your energy, created confusion, blocked openings, or tried to make you doubt what you were capable of. They shifted things that were never theirs to touch, and in doing so, they created a spiritual imbalance. Life can tolerate many things, but imbalance is never one of them. It doesn't matter how long it takes, alignment always comes back around. That's why this payout feels different. It carries a weight that regular blessings don't have. It feels charged, overdue, and bigger than what you expected. That's because it includes everything that was withheld from you, everything you were supposed to receive earlier, and everything that was interrupted because someone decided to interfere. It's restoration with interest. Interest built from years of struggle you didn't deserve, and obstacles you never invited. Some of the people responsible for this imbalance acted like you were overreacting. They brushed off your pain. They justified their actions. They told themselves they were right, or at least that you were too weak to do anything about it. But the universe was watching. Every choice they made shifted something in your life, and every shift required a correction. That correction is happening now. The ruling in your favor is not a reward. It's the return of stolen time, stolen peace, and stolen opportunities. It's the universe saying, this was never theirs to disrupt. What you're receiving is not a gift. It's equilibrium being restored. And that's why this moment feels so powerful. It's not just abundance, it's justice built into destiny. Number 4. Someone's paying the price because they miscalculated the weight of your truth. They never expected your truth to hold this much force. They assumed you were someone they could handle, someone they could talk over, someone they could confuse into silence. Their entire strategy depended on the belief that you were powerless, that you would break under pressure, that you didn't have the resilience to stand on what you knew. They mistook your calmness for naivety and your kindness for weakness. In their minds, you were the easiest person to manipulate because you didn't fight dirty and you didn't rush to defend yourself. But the truth about a chosen one is simple. Your truth doesn't depend on your volume, and it doesn't need you to put on a performance. It exists whether you shout it or not. It exists whether they deny it or not. It exists whether the room believes you or not. It has weight, it has gravity, and once it starts moving, it pulls everything with it. Lies, motives, witnesses, systems and intentions. They didn't calculate that part. They only calculated how fast they could twist the story. Your truth didn't come crashing in all at once. It moved slowly, quietly, and steadily. And while they thought they were winning, the truth was gathering momentum. The moment it gained enough force, their lies began collapsing under the pressure. What they said about you didn't match what was being revealed. What they claimed didn't align with the evidence. Their actions, their motives, and their hidden agendas started contradicting the very version of you they tried to sell to others. Now they're stumbling under the consequences they created for you. Their own words are being used against them. Their own plans are turning on them. The traps they built are snapping shut with their names written on them. Not because you retaliated, but because truth naturally rebounds. It doesn't vanish just because someone covers it with noise. It waits, it settles, and when the moment is right, it confronts everything and everyone standing in the way. The price they're paying now isn't punishment. It's the cost of underestimating the gravity of your authenticity. They thought your truth was light and flexible, something they could bend or reshape. They didn't realize it was dense enough to shift reality itself, and reality has finally shifted, directly onto them. Number 5. The court didn't validate you. Your suffering validated the court. People will look at the ruling and assume the system stood up for you, but that's not the real story. The deeper truth is that your situation became the spotlight that forced everyone involved to show exactly who they were. It wasn't the court that proved your honesty. It was your pain, your endurance, and your patience that exposed whether the system itself had any honesty left. You didn't get saved. The system got investigated through your experience. Every decision made about you revealed the values of those making it. Your case became a mirror. It showed who would stand with truth and who would fold under pressure. It revealed the ones who were fair, the ones who were afraid, and the ones who were quietly hoping to sweep everything under the rug. Your suffering didn't just test you, it tested the structure around you. It showed whether justice was real or just a word people used when it suited their agenda. There were people who had the power to help you long before now, but they chose convenience over courage. They chose comfort over accountability. Some pretended they didn't see what was happening to you, because acknowledging your struggle would have required them to admit the system wasn't working the way they claimed. Others watched closely, not because they cared, but because they were curious to see how far you could be pushed before you broke. And there were a few, very few, who quietly stood firm, proving that integrity still exists, even if it's rare. When the ruling finally came, it wasn't a trophy for you. It was a test result for them. The court didn't validate your truth validated the court. Your endurance forced them to choose a side, righteousness or corruption. And what they chose determined the outcome you're receiving now. Your suffering wasn't pointless. It revealed whose loyalty was real, whose ethics were intact, and whose authority could be trusted. It separated those who pretend to serve justice from those who actually do. The ruling didn't make you legitimate. It exposed who already was. In a strange way, you were the audit. Your case was the examination, and the verdict is the proof of who passed and who failed. The system didn't rescue you. It revealed itself through you. Only truth survived, and that truth is now pushing your breakthrough forward. Number 6, your blessing is delayed wealth with interest. Interest paid in lessons, time, and exposure. What's arriving in your life now isn't just money or opportunity. It's the accumulated return on everything you endured in silence. People think delay means denial, but in your case, the delay became a storage room. Every setback you survived was quietly being counted. Every moment someone tried to slow you down added another layer of interest. Every humiliation, every closed door, every forced pause built the value of what's finally being released to you. There were seasons where you wondered why things were taking so long, why your blessings seemed stuck in traffic, why everyone else seemed to move ahead while you stayed in the same place. But what you didn't see was the spiritual math happening behind the scenes. Your suffering wasn't ignored, it was recorded. Every unfair moment increased the payout. Every betrayal added weight to your reward. Every tear adjusted the scale. Your blessing became heavier because your struggle was heavier. The truth is, none of your pain was wasted. It shaped your discernment. It sharpened your intuition. It exposed people you would have trusted too easily. It matured you in ways comfort never could. You gained clarity about who was for you and who was silently hoping for your failure. You learned to recognize manipulation, false help, and empty promises. Those lessons are part of the interest. They're not something you could have bought. They're too expensive, too raw, too precise. They came from the kind of pain that forces you to grow whether you want to or not. And then there was the exposure. Every person who mishandled you, underestimated you, or tried to interfere with your path ended up revealing themselves. They didn't expect the truth to come out the way it did. They thought you'd stay quiet forever. They assumed the delays would break you, not strengthen you, but the waiting period exposed them more than it affected you. It showed their intentions, their envy, their entitlement. That exposure is also part of the interest. They can't access your blessing now, even if they try. What's coming is not just material wealth. It's the return of everything that was taken, everything that was blocked, everything you grew through, and everything you learned. This blessing carries the full weight of your journey. It's justice with interest. It's restoration with depth. And that's why it feels so heavy, because it includes every piece of you that fought to survive the delays. Number 7. The person paying the price isn't suffering for harming you. They're suffering for touching something sacred without authorization. People often assume consequences show up because someone hurt your feelings or disrupted your peace. But what's unfolding now goes way beyond personal offense. This isn't about emotion. It's about structure. There are certain people whose lives are wired into a purpose bigger than their own comfort or ego, and chosen ones fall into that category. Your life isn't random. Your steps aren't casual. Your journey isn't something people can tamper with without creating damage they never intended to deal with. When someone intervenes negatively in your path, they aren't just messing with you, they're interfering with a blueprint they don't have the clearance to touch. Chosen ones aren't protected because they're perfect. They're protected because what they carry is connected to other people, other timelines, and other destinies. Your life influences things you don't even see yet. Your growth activates changes in people you haven't met. Your alignment opens doors for individuals who don't even know your name. So when someone decides to block you out of spite, slow you out of jealousy, or mislead you out of control, they're not just causing personal harm. They're disrupting a system designed with precision. That's where the real consequence comes in. The universe doesn't correct this because you're fragile. It corrects it because the structure they tampered with is sacred. There are people whose destiny is foundational. You're one of them. So when someone inserts themselves into your journey the wrong way, the backlash isn't about revenge, it's about correction. It's the spiritual equivalent of fixing a cracked beam in a building. It's not emotional, it's architectural. And architectural corrections are never gentle, never subtle, and never optional. The punishment they're facing now isn't personal, it's structural. The universe isn't targeting them out of anger. It's removing interference from a path that was designed long before they even existed. They may think they're being singled out, but what's happening is simply maintenance. They tampered with something they didn't build, didn't understand, and weren't assigned to touch. And now the system is adjusting itself by moving them out of the way. Their suffering isn't about you winning or them losing. It's the natural consequence of stepping into a role they weren't authorized to play. The blueprint is being restored, and they're experiencing the cost of disrupting something that was never theirs to alter. Number 8. The ruling hit differently because it didn't just close a chapter. It collapsed the whole narrative your enemies built around your name. This victory feels different because it didn't just end a situation. It erased the entire story that certain people depended on to feel superior, relevant, or justified in how they treated you. For years, some individuals were invested in shaping a version of you that made them comfortable. They needed you to look unstable, so they could call themselves steady. They needed you to look confused, so they could pretend to be wise. They needed you to seem unreliable, so they could act like they were the stable ones. Every label they tried to attach to you wasn't based on truth. It was based on what made their ego feel safe. They built an entire script around your name, and that script became their shield. Anytime someone questioned their behavior, they had the same rehearsed lines. Oh, you know how they are. They're dramatic. They exaggerate everything. They're not all there. And the sad part is, some people believed them, not because you were wrong, but because these individuals repeated the lie long enough to make it sound convincing. But the moment that ruling came down, everything they built fell apart. The narrative they depended on couldn't survive the truth. The version of you they created disintegrated because it was never real to begin with. It was a costume they forced onto your identity, and now the seams have ripped open for everyone to see. The verdict didn't just say you were right, it said they were wrong about you from the beginning. And that's a level of exposure they weren't prepared to deal with. They have to confront the reality that the person they tried to discredit was the most grounded, stable, and truthful one in the whole situation. They have to face the fact that their entire strategy was built on projection. Everything they accused you of was a reflection of their own hidden flaws. Their downfall is happening because their version of you can no longer exist. It evaporated the moment the truth was validated. Without that false narrative, they have nothing left to hide behind. No excuses, no scapegoats, no character to point at. Now the world sees them without their script, and it's exposing exactly who they've always been. This ruling didn't just liberate you, it removed the mask they depended on, and now their reality is catching up with them at a speed they can't outrun. Number 9. The money is coming because the universe no longer trusts these people with access to you. Your abundance wasn't delayed because you weren't ready. It wasn't delayed because you didn't pray hard enough, work hard enough, or believe hard enough. The real issue was the environment around you. The universe saw something you couldn't fully see at the time. Too many people were too close, too comfortable, and too entitled to your energy. If the blessing had come earlier, it would have slipped straight into the hands of people who only knew how to take, drain, and sabotage. Your delay wasn't punishment. It was protection. There were individuals around you who loved the idea of you struggling. They weren't evil in an obvious way. They simply benefited from your lack. Your dependence made them feel powerful. Your vulnerability made them feel needed. Your quiet exhaustion made them feel relevant. If money or elevation had arrived then, those same people would have latched onto you like it was their birthright. Some would have demanded it. Some would have manipulated you for it. Some would have pretended they supported you just long enough to position themselves for a slice of what was meant for you alone. The universe watched all of this happening long before you noticed. It saw who checked on you only when it benefited them. It saw who clapped for you with envy stitched into their smile. It saw who only loved you when you were manageable, humble, apologetic, or struggling. It saw who would have turned your blessing into their opportunity, and who would have drained you until you had nothing left. So the blessing didn't stop. It simply waited. It waited for disconnections that felt painful but were necessary. It waited for betrayals that revealed people's real intentions. It waited for distance to grow between you and those who were never meant to walk into your next chapter with you. The universe wasn't withholding abundance from you. It was withholding access from them. And now that the parasites have identified themselves, the release is automatic. It's not being negotiated, debated, or delayed anymore. Everything they tried to block is coming through because they no longer have the proximity or influence to corrupt it. The blessing is finally yours because the environment no longer threatens it. Your abundance is arriving now because the universe trusts you with it, and no longer trusts them near it. They weren't excluded because of you. They were excluded because of what they planned to do with what belonged to you. This blessing isn't late, it's right on time, and for the first time, it's safely yours. Number 10, they're not just suffering because they mistreated you. They're suffering because they placed their entire identity on the altar of your downfall and lost everything in the transaction. See, the biggest mistake your enemy made wasn't the betrayal, it was the investment. They didn't just gossip about you, they built a portfolio of lies around your name. They didn't just hope you would fail, they budgeted for it. They didn't just doubt you, they made your destruction their retirement plan. And when life exposed the truth, when God flipped the script, when the system realized your innocence, they didn't just lose the argument. They lost the empire they built on your supposed collapse. Your enemies didn't risk their reputation on a small lie. They bet their entire public identity on the belief that you were the problem. And when the truth rose to the surface, something sinister happened. Their credibility didn't just take a hit, it liquidated. Their influence didn't just shrink, it defaulted. Their alliances didn't just break, they foreclosed. You weren't just vindicated. Their entire ecosystem was exposed as fraudulent, because when someone attacks a chosen one, they don't just play a dangerous game. They sign a spiritual mortgage they can't afford. Your enemies didn't understand that the universe keeps receipts. They didn't understand that your name was insured in realms they don't have clearance to access. They didn't understand that sabotaging someone with a divine assignment comes with interest, penalties, and irreversible costs. What they're paying now isn't karma. It's restitution for violating a divine contract they didn't know existed. This is why their downfall feels excessive. This is why the consequences look disproportionate. This is why their life is collapsing in strange, interconnected ways. Because the punishment isn't about what they did to you. It's about what they tried to do to the destiny connected to you. Your victory isn't personal, it's cosmic. And their loss isn't emotional, it's architectural. Number 11. The ruling isn't just a legal victory, it's your spiritual audit report, stamped, calculated, and irreversible. People think your breakthrough finally came through, but they don't understand this was never about timing. It was about accountability. Your life was being reviewed the whole time. Every injustice entered the ledger. Every betrayal was logged. Every humiliation was preserved as evidence. Every block, delay, and sabotage was recorded under unauthorized interference. Your pain wasn't ignored. It was quantified. This isn't random justice. This isn't God came through at the last minute. This is itemized restoration. Heaven didn't just bless you. Heaven audited them. And the ruling you're receiving now is the exact mathematical total of what they thought you'd never recover from. People don't realize. Nothing you lost disappeared. It was sitting in a spiritual escrow, untouched, accumulating interest. When you stayed quiet instead of fighting back, it went on the record. When you forgave people who didn't deserve it, it went on the record. When you kept working with an empty heart and an exhausted spirit, it went on the record. When you held your dignity while they played dirty, it went on the record. When you kept standing even though you were shattered internally, it went on the record. Your tears were evidence. Your patience was evidence. Your restraint was evidence. Your suffering was evidence. So now the payout feels supernatural because it's not a reward, it's reimbursement. It matches the total, not $1 short, not a blessing late, not a breakthrough miscalculated. They thought the system didn't see them. They thought God didn't hear you. They thought time would erase the damage. Instead, time preserved the proof until the exact moment the scales tipped in your favor. The ruling hit the earth, but the audit was done in the spirit. What you're receiving now isn't justice. It's the full cost of everything they misjudged, touched, withheld, and tried to bury. Your comeback isn't a miracle. It's a settlement. Number 12. Your victory is dangerous because it forces everyone who betrayed you to confront the fact that you were right all along. This breakthrough didn't just confirm your truth, it cornered every person who once dismissed you. They didn't doubt your experiences, they weren't confused, they weren't unsure, they simply couldn't afford for you to be right, because your truth would have exposed everything they were trying to protect, reputations, alliances, narratives, and lies that benefited them. Believing you would have required them to hold certain people accountable, including themselves. So instead, they pretended you were exaggerating, emotional, dramatic, or unstable. Not because they thought that, but because it was easier for them. Now the ruling has taken away their hiding place. The moment the decision came through, the entire dynamic flipped. The truth they tried to bury rose with official backing. The same voices that once spoke over you have gone silent, not out of guilt, but because they know they've been caught. Silence is no longer neutrality. It's a confession stamped without ink. People who once acted confused suddenly understand everything with suspicious clarity, and the ones who pretended not to see now look away because there's nowhere left to look. Your victory forces a reckoning. It demands an explanation from those who treated your suffering like an inconvenience. It confronts every person who stood beside your enemies out of comfort and cowardice. They're not dealing with your blessing. They're dealing with their exposure. They're realizing that the version of you they crafted no longer exists in the public narrative. And now people are asking questions they hoped would never be asked. If you were telling the truth, what does that make them? Your win unsettles them because it forces them to acknowledge what they knew the whole time. They can't rewrite history now. They can't pretend confusion. They can't shift blame. The ruling turned their excuses into evidence, their denial into documentation, their silence into a spotlight. Your breakthrough isn't just a blessing, it's a verdict on their character, and that is why your victory feels dangerous to them. They never feared you losing. They feared the world finding out you were right. Number 13. The person paying the price isn't being punished, they're being revealed. What's happening to them right now isn't retaliation, karma, or cosmic revenge. It's exposure. Their consequences aren't something happening to them. They're the truth finally catching up with the image they built. The universe isn't attacking them. It's removing the costume they hid behind. When someone wrongs a chosen one, the energy doesn't swing back to strike. It simply unveils. And that unveiling is often more devastating than any punishment could ever be. For a long time, they survived by being two different people, the one they showed publicly and the one they weaponized privately. They counted on your silence to protect their performance. They counted on your isolation to hide their behavior. They counted on your compassion to shield them from accountability. But masks have expiration dates. Their downfall is not about what they did to you. It's about who they were the whole time when no one was watching. Now the circumstances they created have flipped the light on. The ruling, the exposure, the consequences, none of it is random. It's illumination. It's evidence rising to the surface. The universe didn't strike back. It simply stopped covering for them. When truth comes forward, lies naturally collapse. That collapse looks like punishment, but it's really self-inflicted decay. People around them are shocked by how fast everything is falling apart, but that speed isn't sudden. It's simply the result of truth no longer waiting in the shadows. Their reputation is unraveling because it was stitched together with deception. Their alliances are crumbling because those alliances were born from manipulation. Their confidence is disappearing because it was built on the assumption that you would never rise. What they're experiencing now is the removal of illusion. And for people who depended on illusion to survive, exposure feels like destruction. But the universe is not angry with them. It just refuses to let them hide anymore. Their consequences are not about your suffering. They're about their identity finally being visible without the filter. Transparency is the real justice. What they're enduring is the price of finally being seen. Number 14. Your payout is not a reward. It's the beginning of a role you weren't allowed to step into while they still had access to your resources. This breakthrough isn't a pat on the back for surviving. It's a signal that your next chapter has finally been cleared of the people who would have contaminated it. The delay in your blessing was never about you being unprepared, unqualified, or uncertain. It was about the environment around you. Elevation for a chosen one isn't just about rising, it's about who must be removed before you rise. And the truth is simple. You were surrounded by people who would have used your blessings to drain you emotionally, financially, spiritually, or socially if the door had opened too soon. Your destiny is too specific, too sensitive, and too purposeful to be shared with individuals who see you as a resource instead of a responsibility. That's why the payout didn't come when you prayed for it. It didn't come when you struggled for it. It didn't come when you begged for a break. It came when the universe, God, the divine order, the higher system, finished scanning your circle and flagged the hands that were untrustworthy. Those people weren't just bad influences. They were threats to your next level. They would have repackaged your opportunity as theirs. They would have siphoned your ideas, manipulated your generosity, or tried to rewrite history by making themselves the reason you succeeded. Their attachment to you wasn't love, it was entitlement. And the divine doesn't fund entitlement. Your payout is arriving now because their access has finally been revoked. Not by you, but by a system that saw what you couldn't see and heard things you weren't meant to hear. It wasn't protecting your money. It was protecting your future. It wasn't delaying your success. It was safeguarding your purpose. The blessing wasn't withheld from you. It was withheld from them. Now that the wrong hands have been removed, heaven can release what was always yours. This isn't you receiving money. This is you receiving clearance. Entry into the position you were denied, not because you were unworthy, but because the crowd around you was incompatible with your calling. Your payout marks the official beginning of the role you were always destined to hold, finally free from the people who would have misused your rise for their own agenda. Conclusion. This isn't just a story about a court ruling or money finally arriving. This is a story about clarity, timing, and the universe's unwavering precision. Every delay, every betrayal, every moment you were underestimated or ignored was part of a blueprint that only now is fully revealing itself. The payout you're about to receive isn't random luck or a simple blessing. It's the culmination of every sacrifice you silently endured, every injustice catalogued, every setback transformed into spiritual currency. What you've survived has not gone unnoticed, and what's coming isn't just financial restoration. It's a declaration that your life, your destiny, and your truth cannot be silenced, manipulated, or stolen. The people who tried to derail you, manipulate you, or benefit from your pain are now facing consequences not because of revenge, but because truth always finds a way to correct itself. Their exposure, their collapse, and the unraveling of the false narratives they created around you is the universe's way of restoring balance. What was stolen, denied, or delayed is coming back to you multiplied, carrying not just material compensation, but the weight of justice, clarity, and undeniable truth. Your victory proves something deeper. Chosen ones are not elevated for comfort or popularity. They are elevated for impact. You were delayed not because you were unready, but because the environment wasn't ready for the power you carry. The wrong hands had to be removed, the false narratives had to collapse, and the system had to align perfectly before you could step fully into your role. And now every door that was blocked is opening. Every lie that was told against you is being rewritten, and every person who underestimated you is forced to face the consequences of misjudging someone protected by destiny itself. This moment is bigger than money. It's bigger than recognition. It's bigger than any vindication that can be spoken aloud. It's a cosmic statement. Your truth cannot be denied, your power cannot be contained, and your path cannot be stolen. Every tear you swallowed, every insult you endured, every betrayal you navigated has led to this precise moment. And now the universe is paying you what it always intended, and those who interfered are finally facing the price they created for themselves. So as this chapter closes and your next one begins, remember the power of patience, the value of clarity, and the inevitability of truth. Share this revelation. Let it inspire others who are waiting for their own justice, and let it remind everyone watching that the universe always balances the scales. If this message hit home, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another life-altering insight. Like this video to show your support, comment your thoughts and experiences to join the conversation, and share it with someone who needs to hear that justice is coming for them too. The truth never waits, and neither should we. God bless you.